Russia is going to pay for insulting the president of Turkey. Peace talks were scheduled between the two warring countries, Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine's President Zelensky attended, but Vladimir Putin declined. Instead of Putin showing up himself, he sent a low-level delegation to negotiate with Zelensky. And of course, our current president said, if you are not going to attend, then neither am I. What's even more upsetting is that Putin was the one who suggested restarting direct talks with Ukraine in that city. So, of course, Ukraine's President Zelensky said, I feel disrespect from Russia. There was no meeting time, no agenda, no high-level delegation. This is personal disrespect to Erdogan, and absolutely, Erdogan is upset and Russia is going to suffer for it. In the Middle East, Turkey has the most diplomatic and military strength, so they are a power broker and a huge mediator between world powers in the region. They are also in NATO, which means no country, not even Russia, can push them around. This is very important because Turkey is in a very hostile region and they are neighbors with Russia, at least when it comes to sharing the Black Sea. However unstable you think the Middle East is, it would be so much worse if Turkey didn't have that protection, because any country that would even think of firing a single bullet into the country of Turkey would deal with the invocation of Article 5 and have the 32 most powerful countries attack them. That's why Moscow gets to bully Ukraine, Belarus, former Soviet countries, but they have to play very nice with Ankara, especially when it comes to dealing with Turkey's President Erdogan. I'm not the biggest fan of that guy, but he doesn't mess around. Now, Putin may think he has his reasons for snubbing Turkey this way, since they were instrumental in kicking the Assad regime out of Syria, which Russia and Iran heavily relied on. Syria hosted Russia's only naval base in the region, and with the overturning of the government, that stopped. And Turkey is reaping the rewards as the sanctions against Syria have been lifted, meaning that millions of refugees may eventually be going home in the coming years, which is less of a strain on the Turkish economy. And Turkey will become even more influential in the Middle East if they can establish strong and leading ties with the new Syrian government. Now, I don't know if the collapse of the Assad regime is the main reason why Russia didn't attend the meeting in Turkey, but I'm sure it contributed. There's also the fact that Russia relies on Turkey relying on Russian oil and natural gas, but it looks like the Turks have their own. 2 years ago, in the southeast of Turkey, 1 billion barrels of oil was discovered underground. And there are billions of more barrels and gallons of oil and natural gas along the Black Sea, which of course Russia wants access to. Russia wants to take the majority of the oil and natural gas in the Black Sea to keep Turkey and other regional governments reliant on them and them alone. But that is not going to happen as long as someone like Erdogan is in power in that country. For the past few years, Turkey has been expanding its defense budget, first up to 15 billion, then 20 billion. Now it is up to $47 billion in 2025. It is a record. And I'm aware Russia is one of the major arms suppliers to the country, but so are Spain, Italy, and the United States. Ironically, Turkey is one of the largest arms suppliers to Ukraine, especially when it comes to drones. So even though in the past President Erdogan has been very chummy with Putin, his drones have been killing Russian soldiers. And because of Putin's diplomatic failure, Erdogan is probably going to be supplying Ukraine with even more. Who knows, maybe we will start to see Turkey try to expand their oil and natural gas infrastructure into potentially Russian territory. And Turkey can get away with that because, once again, they are in NATO and they have a strong military of their own. Either way, time will tell, but right now, President Putin is looking even more childish than our current president with the tariff issues. I am the Geo Hussar, and Russia has been failing every day for 3 years since they haven't been able to take Ukraine. Thanks for watching.